Hey, what's going on? Jason Rogers here, and I've been getting asked in the QLA review video that I posted how I chose the industry and how I chose the business that I'm now taking action in. Basically, how did I choose what industry to consolidate and to acquire businesses in? And I want to break down how I did that. It's real simple. So, first of all, for those of you guys, and I'll show you where I'm at. It's a nice little spot here. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I've got the coffee here. We've got the computer, but I'll stop screwing around. Let's get to the point. But I am in Orlando because I'm actually at an industry seminar / conference, for the industry that I'm consolidating. So I guess that really does now beg the question, how did I choose the industry? And it's real simple. First of all, I went to Dan Pena's QLA seminar, which I talked about. And of course, a lot of you guys already know that, given you've watched some of the videos in the playlist. But I went to the seminar. I took notes all 7 days. I followed his advice wherein he recommends you go into, if you're going to start a new business that you don't know a ton about, go into a business with huge margins. I believe he recommends over 40% gross margins. And so what I was doing the whole time when I was in the Dan Pena seminar is that every time he would say an industry and he would say the margins, I wrote it down. Or every time he said an industry had high margins, I wrote it down. So I had a list of about 10 to 15 different industries I was thinking about going into. Everything from gravel to self-storage to nightclubs to maintenance work to facilities work to mobile home parks to all types of different industries, right? And so then I got lucky. I actually had my meeting with Mr. Pena, the 30-minute one-on-one meeting you get if you go to the QLA Castle seminar. I had that meeting with him on the second to last day of the seminar. I believe, by the way, you get a meeting later in the seminar if you pay early. So again, as I talked about in the QLA review video, go to the Castle seminar early if you decide to go. But anyways, I sat down with Mr. Pena and I went through my list. I said, "Hey, Mr. Pena, let's play a game." And he kind of looked at me funny. You know Dan Pena. He gave me that look like, "Who the hell are you? What do you think you're doing trying to play a game with me, young man?" But I said, "Let's play a little game." I have 13 different industries. I believe that's how many industries I ultimately had written down. I had 13 different industries, Mr. Pena. I'm curious which one you would go into if you were me and you didn't have any experience with any of those industries. Now, before I tell you what happened next, I'll simply share that if you don't go to the QLA Castle seminar, what I would do is I would go on LinkedIn and reach out to 5 or 10 really successful people and offer to buy them coffee and sit down with them and ask them the same type of question. What industries do you know have the biggest margins? Because if the industry's consolidated or if the industry's fragmented, if it's fragmented, meaning there's a bunch of mom and pop owners, then really the only other big variable you need are high margins, right? If you have a fragmented industry and there's high margins, you can make a shitload of money there using the QLA principles, using the idea of buying revenue versus creating it. Anyways, I'm in the meeting with Mr. Pena. I read down the 13 industries, and he immediately looks at me and says, "Go with that industry right there." And that was it. I selected right then and there. I said, "Done, sold." And this is one of the big mistakes I saw a lot of people in the seminar, the other 20 or so people that were there, they were reluctant to go with their gut and say, "This is my industry." The second he said, "Choose this industry," which, by the way, was to consolidate the mobile home park industry, which isn't a sexy industry, I know. So I'm at a mobile home park conference, by the way, here in Orlando, Florida, right? But it is what it is. So when he said consolidate that industry, I made the decision right there. And this is what most of the people in my seminar class, I think, were struggling to do a bit, is they wanted to think about it. They wanted to kind of rub themselves on it. They wanted to kind of warm up to the idea. For me, it was immediate. I'm like, done, sold. I'm going to get learning more about the industry right now. Sure enough, I believe that meeting I had with Mr. Pena was probably on a Friday. By Sunday, I flew home. On Monday, I got home all day, and then on Monday, I did a little bit of homework. And I remember literally in between my flights on the way home, I was Googling mobile home parks, mobile home park industry. And by the time I landed, I was completely sold. I'm consolidating this industry. And so the real point that I'm going to get at for you is just when you find an industry that's fragmented, and if the margins are high, just go with it. You're not going to know everything. Hell, you're not going to know much of anything. But that's what you build your board for. Your board, you bring on industry experts. You bring on accountants. You bring on lawyers. You bring on deal makers, investment bankers perhaps. And so these individuals know how to get deals done. They know the accounting. They know the legal. Your real job with the QLA system is just to get all the right pieces in play, to choose the right horse, aka a cottage industry or a fragmented industry with high margins, right? You find the right industry, and then you bring in the right pieces to get the job done. And then you lead from the front. That's really what you're doing with the QLA model. So it's okay if you don't know everything. Pick an industry and move forward. That's how I did it, and that's how you can do it too.